Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ladies Tale podcast. I'm so excited that I'm finally back on the Ladies Tale podcast. I say this after I've done 4 episodes for the Ladies Tale podcast and like 2 for the written one, the writing something or another. I got to remember the names of my own podcast, and the other one for the And I Thought podcast. Yes, I'm now calling it the And I Thought podcast because calling it the Women's Cave and then people showing up and being like, where's the Women's Cave? And I'm like, no, it's And I Thought. And they go, huh? And I'm like, yeah, now I finally get that. 7 years later, I'm like, it makes sense to announce the name of your actual podcast. All right, if that joke failed, I'd apologize. And I'm going to just keep moving on because I have a co-host today and someone really important that has, not that much time for me to talk. So I can't even be a true narcissist. I have to give my time away. Let me see. There was that. There was this. Okay, let me go ahead and jump into the second part because normally Jade is here and she does all of this in order. She's not here. So I'm doing it in order today. So sorry for you. That's sign language for so sorry for you. But I wrote books. Occasionally I have wisdom, like every 15 lines or so. So skip every 15 pages and you'll see my wisdom in my books. There, And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, If Only I Were Me, A Memoir in Verse, Foreign Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Debt. Those are 6 books. And you can find those 6 audiobooks wherever audiobooks are sold. And then I gotta add, we have 11 more books. And yes, this is the sign language part. I now have added this as my bit. Hey, Tanya, look at that new bit, 11 more books. And you can find our 11 more books, which equals a grand total of 17 books at www.andithoughtLadies.com. I don't have time to do it as a car salesman today. Ooh, although my inner narcissist is like one more line for you, but I don't have time to do that today. So I'm going to go ahead and let us introduce our co-host. Co-host, introduce yourself.
That was hilarious. I didn't know there was going to be math involved today.
I do math. Occasionally.
Well, I am Tanya Todd. I'm an author, actress, and screenwriter from Las Vegas, and I'm excited to interview George Pierre.
Yay! Okay, so the next thing goes, you're not here to hear about me, you're here to hear about our wonderful guest. I wish you were here to hear about me. I have stories. Because I'm in Omaha, so I have stories. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I think Lizzie, I'm going to try to match your energy. Because your energy is, you got energy for days. Like this, yeah. Lorna has energy for days. Hey, I'm George Pierre, casting director here in the Southeast. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for thinking of me. I guess we're going to talk about movies and casting and actors and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, we're going to have fun.
Okay, so I lied. I thought I was going to be very professional and ask about movies and casting directors and all of that stuff. I decided I'm changing and I'm going to ask my silly question first. George, I hope you don't. Mr. Pierre. I'm going to go with Mr. Pierre because I found out he was really important. So Mr. Pierre, no?
No, just George.
George. Okay, George it is. George it is. George, I'm asking my silly question first. I'm getting it out of my
by all means.
My blood. Crafty. Have you ever had craft services on a movie set? Was it good? And who had the best? Don't tell me who had the best. Just tell me what was on the best craft services table.
Oh, listen, it was one show we were working on. Her mom used to be a craft service person, and then she took over being a craft service person. And when I tell you the best tuna sandwiches on God's green earth, people will leave set to go to her truck just to get the sandwiches. It's just phenomenal. I miss those days.
You have their email address? I want to interview them. I'm sorry. I love you too, but that's food.
Her dream is to be on set and just enjoy wonderful craft services. And so I'm doing my best to
Please get her on set.
Invite her.
or just go there and cook for her, or just matter of fact, we should just ship you some craft services.
Yes.
I just want craft services. I read about it at 12 years old and I was reading a book and I said, wait, is this true or did they make this up? And then I have been reading about it for amount of years. So that is my dream. I have all the dreams on my bucket.
We stopped doing the math now, right? So we don't. So the math just went out the door now, huh? Okay, I got you.
Grayish math. That's I call that gray math. There's no real numbers involved.
Some odd years later. Yeah.
I said, okay, let me go with it. It's the variable of X years later. Solve for X. I'm sorry. Okay, now let's get professional. My first question, as always, to every casting director that's been on here right now is, what does a casting director do? Because, it's brand new to me.
basically we're in charge of finding talent for the show. That's what it really boils down to. You know, when you're on a show, there are times where there are actors who come attached with a movie or a TV show, and then you have your guest stars, you have your series regulars. And so, you know, we have to compile those together and come up with names, brainstorm with the studio, network producers, director, showrunners to see who would be the best fit for each role. So, for example, we did an own project for Oprah Winfrey, Mama Oprah, and it was called Ambitions. And I was the only casting director on it. Will Packer was the producer. Shout out to Will and Shayla. Blah, blah. And we were grateful enough to be the only casting people on there because it gave us an opportunity to give opportunities to actors that are here in Atlanta that probably wouldn't have gotten that opportunity to be a series regular on an own project. And so we flew out to LA. We saw people in LA. We saw people here in Atlanta. And, you know, we'll break down the script, what was called sides, and Tanya could attest to this. So we'll send the sides to the agents. The agents will send them to the people that we selected to audition. So we'll release a breakdown which narrows down each role for each script. And the agents will submit who they feel are the best candidates for each role. We, in turn, as casting, go back and we go through those submissions and we make our selections. Now, we're human. Obviously, some people we miss, some people we remember. And, you know, collectively between myself, the agents, or even the producers, say, oh, what about this person? What about that person? And then we also request them to audition. And then from there, we'll do what is called a callback. And then from the callback, we'll do what's called a chemistry read. So if we have one actor that we know that we're in love with, the female actress, and we're trying to find our male actor, we're going to do chemistry reads between the two. So for Ambitions, it was, I forgot who it was. It was Brian White. And I love her, and I just can't believe I forgot her name.
Well, you said you're human, so that happened.
I am, but she's real good people. Jesus Christ, I can forget her name. But the funny thing is, before she came to audition for us, she was on one of our shows that we were doing. We were shooting here in Atlanta, and I just saw the scene that she did, and she just went dark in the scene. And I said to the producers, I was like, "Oh my God, we should have her on the show." And then so she was in LA already, so she came in an audition, and they did the chemistry read between her and Brian, and it was phenomenal. I gotta remember Estes Atkins. Like, oh my God, exactly. How could I forget her? And if she's watching this, forgive me, because I didn't mean to do that shit. Yeah, and the chemistry between them was phenomenal. You know, we had Robin Givens on there, we had Kendra Cross on there, we had Erica Page, Brayley Evans. So it was a nice ensemble of a cast put together to have the viewers enjoy.
So I have one narcissist question, and then I'm looking at my time, and I know your time is valuable, so I'm gonna just kick it over to the person who actually knows what they're talking about. So my narcissist question is, I'm absolutely adorable. I just want to know if you have a part for someone who stands in the background and says one line. I found out because I was recently in a movie, and I found out I'm good at one line. I'm joking.
You know what? That's cool. As long as, look, that one line pays about $1,000. I would say 10 lines for one line for each movie, 10 different movies.
I don't really care. As long as there's craft services, I will say my darn line for free. Just give me food.
You say that now until that check come in, you're going to be like, oh, you know what?
I could buy a lot of food with that check.
Right. I'll just buy my own craft services, keep the checks going.
Oh my goodness. Oh, randomly, I'm having another narcissist moment. I recently checked out my IMDb page. I didn't know I had one until I was like in the movie, and they're like, oh, send me the IMDb page. And I looked at it and I went, holy crap, there's credits on here.
Yeah.
I've done stuff. Now, Tanya, because we don't do segues in the show. It's all you. Ask professional things. Be professional for me when I did not have, like, I put on my pearls today so I could seem professional. So, you know, do my pearls the actual job. Be professional.
So I want to start by saying congratulations on winning the Heller Award last year for cooperation and representation with talent managers. The casting department is often overlooked during award ceremonies. So I want to know, how does it feel to be recognized for your work?
I thought it was dope. It was, it was a great feeling. And the crazy thing is, my wife kept telling me, like, hey, we should just, because I knew there was going to be an award ceremony and we were nominated. And she was like, hey, we got to go. We should just go to LA and just go. I was like, babe, I can't go. Like, I have work to do, like I really can't take off just to go to, to LA. And then lo and behold, found out we won. She was like, man, we should have went. I was like, yeah, probably should have went.
Yes, you're the one who just said you're working remotely.
Yeah. But hey, look, the award is right over there. It's sitting nicely and I'm loving it. So.
Oh, if you're in our magazine, can you take a picture with the award? Oh, I'm sorry. This was professional. My bad.
Well, as you were saying, you're in Atlanta, so that market has completely exploded in the last few years. What's it like to be a part of that?
It's a great feeling, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of work coming in here in Atlanta. And it gives everybody an opportunity to just enjoy what they're doing and, be a part of their craft. So there's several different casting directors here in Atlanta. And, in any particular time, each casting director can be working on 3 projects at a time. So that's great. Like, I love that it's garnering more talent to move here. Like, New York talent is moving here, LA talent is moving here because there's so much happening here.
Now, you said that sometimes you might be working on multiple projects at the same time. Do you ever have a situation where someone auditions for, movie A and they're not quite right for the part, but you're like, you know what? I see something in them. They might be good for this other project over here.
Absolutely. That happens all the time. I mean, I'd like to think that's what we're here for, because we have to remember who the talent is, especially in our hometown. So I want to know everybody who's here, who can make it happen. Like, if I have a self-tape request that I need turned around quickly, who can I go to that I can count on and make that happen? So at the end of the day, it's great to have that access. And, working on multiple projects, you're able to just, be like, hey, okay, you're right. This person's not good for this role, but let's try them out for this role. And it's happened in the past. We were working on one project and this is where growth comes in, you know what I mean? So you're able to talk to the producers and voice your opinion. I used to say back before, like, oh, I'm just going to stay quiet. I'm not going to say anything. But I realized, that's not the cool thing to do, because if at the end of the day, I like to think we're also advocating for the actors as well as the producers, but we have to open our mouths up and be like, hey, so it was Little we were shooting, right? And it was a role for a principal. And everybody came in and auditioned. It was just like the regular principal, just like, hi, okay, well, welcome to the school. And there was a scene where they were walking the little girl to her new class. And the teacher was like this real good looking guy. And so the 2 ladies were just, lusting over him, even the little girl who wasn't supposed to be lusting over him. And so everybody played it straight, yada, yada, nice, whatever, cautious. One actor came in, he said, George, can I just have fun with this? Absolutely. This is what we're here for. Have fun. So when they walk to the scene when they're walking to the classroom, while the 2 ladies are lusting over the math teacher, he does the same thing. He's like, ooh, yeah, and then they look at him, or he acts like they're looking at him, and he just catches himself like, yeah, ladies, well, this is your new classroom. And so I'm in tears. I'm like, okay, I am definitely sending this to the producers. Yeah. I sent it to the producers. Producers got a lot going on. This is where you got to speak up. And he was like, hey, I don't like anybody on here. I said, really? So I texted one of them. I said, listen, you need to look at Vince Pisani's audition. I kid you not, 5 seconds later, said, book him. And he booked. And he booked him. Right. So it's always, you got to speak up for people. Yes.
I'd like to raise my hand on my own show. Now I have a question.
Hey.
Oh I didn't realize
You don't have to raise your hand. This is your show.
I know, but like I promise this will be professional time, like real chat about craft. How do you find you work with you said the directors, the network, and with the producers? How do you do that? Like I have a hard time working with people I write with, and I don't have to talk to them. They just send me emails.
Well, I mean, it's a collaborative, making a film or a TV show is a collaborative effort.
Oh, well, I guess I'm out then.
Yeah, one person can't do it. Like for BMF, we have the writer's room. You know, you have the showrunner, you have the producers, you have the directors, you got your gaffers, your wardrobe, hair, makeup, everybody, electric. So I personally just deal with, so basically the way it works is once we audition the people, we'll send our likes over to the producers and director and other people that need to get it. They'll weigh in, you know, as a casting director. I love it when they say, hey, I love this person, this person, this person, this person. As a casting director, I don't like when they say we want to see more options, but I get it. It's fair. They want to see more options. So we'll send them more options. And then once, you know, they decide who they want, they send us back their likes, and we'll either send it to the studio to make the final determination, or we'll send it to the network. So for BMF, it's to the network. We send it off to Stars, and they review it and be like, okay, yeah, we like this person. We like this person. Yep, cool. Or they'll say, I'm not too keen on this person. Can we see more options? And then we'll send it. And then more than likely they'll go with, you know, out of respect for the producers and director and the right choice, they'll go with the options that were sent to them.
Okay. Tanya, back to you. We have about 10 minutes.
You mentioned something about, you know, having people, you know, you can go to for a quick self-tape.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I miss about pre-pandemic times was the regularity of auditioning in person. I prefer to connect with the casting director in the room where you have a chance for redirection. I'm curious, how has the shift towards self-tapes affected you as a casting director?
Well, we used to always allow people, because what we like to do before, you know, this whole COVID thing came about, was we would see X amount of people to come into the room, but we also want to give other people an opportunity. So we want to see as much people as we can. So we'll see X amount of people live, but then we'll still give other people opportunities to self-tape. So we've always been doing the self-tape thing. So it's not really much of a shift for us. It's just more self-taping. But we still have the capability to do EcoCast live, which is a form of you being in a room with the casting director and the producers. So, and I miss it as well, because I miss giving the direction. Because, you know, you'll have somebody in that room and you'll be like, ooh, okay, I see where you're trying to go with it. I get it. I promise you I get it. But let's try it this way. And then you give them that direction. Because for me, the most important thing is to see if this person can take direction. So at the end of the day, if they can, then they could be a potential candidate.
If you give them an adjustment, can they make it? Can they switch gears there? Are they open?
Absolutely. Or are they just one track minded? And you got to think about it. They're good, but maybe they're only good for the 5 and unders.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I have a narcissistic question. I have a question about headshots. So people seem to respond well when I play supernatural characters like vampires and witches and demons and things like that. It's becoming one of my types. Does it make sense for me to get character headshots specifically geared toward this, or do I run the risk of being pigeonholed into only those roles?
Why is your narcissistic question even good?
Wait, I would say this. At the end of the day, I personally, I don't think there's a thing called typecasting. So what if you are typecast? You're working. You know, if you take a look at Johnny Depp in the movies that he's done, they're all pretty much the same. You know, and he makes a lot of money off of it. So at the end of the day, while the people who are saying, "Oh, well, she played that role already," well, yeah, oh, there she goes playing that role again in a different setting. It means they want you. You ever see that actor? You're like, I know that. Oh yeah, you know, and you look at their resume and you're like, holy shit, they've done over 200 movies. You know, so which one do you want? Do you want to not work, or do you want to work?
I want to work.
You know, so I would recommend you, yes, please get those headshots that gear towards that. That'll help you. but also keep regular headshots in case you're going for other roles.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily have to print out headshots anymore. Everything is electronic now. Yeah. So you don't have to print it out, which is great.
So, Tanya, since you haven't asked your regular question, and this will be next to the last, unless you have one really impressive question, then I won't even ask mine.
Well, we got a couple minutes. You can ask your questions.
Okay, so my question is, she normally asks, how do you like an actor to do their audition? What is that thing that you call?
Oh, what's your
Booking?
preference for a slate?
Thank you. See, I know nothing.
Tanya, help me, child. Help me, Tanya. What was the question? How do I like my slates?
Right. Do you have a preference when it comes to slating? What are the things you like people to say? Do you prefer it at the beginning or the end of the audition?
Whenever somebody, I treat my eco casts just like how if it was self-tapes. I mean, as if we were in the room is what I meant to say. So normally I just say, hey, your name, character, and height. And if you're out of towner, say you're an out of towner, so that way we know how to handle it if we need to book you.
What is your reason for asking for the height? Because I'm 5'10", and I feel like sometimes that prevents me from getting a role beside
Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
Because he's like 4'2".
Yeah.
But yeah, well, the reason why we ask that because we have to be realistic. So you got to understand when you're on set, as you've been on set, if the person's way taller than the other person, it's too much that the camera guys
framing,
right, in order to make it happen for the set. So it's kind of cool to keep it towards the same height.
Okay.
Obviously, if it's your show, then you're 5'10", you're 5'10". Then we got to find a guy probably that's 6 feet for you, or 6'1", 6'2". You're not gonna go with a guy my height who's like 5'7", and I just lied because I'm really 5'6".
So the message there is be the star, and it doesn't matter.
There it is. One young lady said to me on IG the other day, and she's phenomenal. And she says, I know I'm not a name yet, but I'm like, yo, you are a name. Don't let anybody tell you you're not a name, because your name, my name is George Pierre, and I say that shit proud. I don't care what anybody think. I could have been the
because
governor.
You can.
No, because I'm just conceited like that. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And my mother always, instilled like you be the best you at whatever you do. I used to work at Home Depot as a loss prevention manager. And so I was the best at what I did with that. We'd be locking the people up like, hi, go to court. My name is George Pierre. Say it proud. Say your name like you love it. Put some emphasis on it. So now that we're doing movies, I don't look at it like first of all, I couldn't be doing movies if it wasn't for the actors and the producers and the directors of the world and the studios and networks. Hence why I don't feel like we can have 300 credits. It'll still be that same George Pierre you met from day one. Now we just have more knowledge than what we had from prior starting. We grow, and that's with anything. It takes 10 years or 10,000 hours in order to remotely become successful in anything that you do. So you can never stop mastering your craft. It's something like I'll joke around all day, but work is work, and work is serious. Work is putting kids through college. Work is, allowing me to enjoy life with my wife, who now works with me, and she's very bossy. Oh my God, dear Lord.
More power to her.
Yo, listen, I thought I was the boss. I'm not. I just quickly realized she runs things. I will get an email. I kid you not. As I'm reading the email, I get a text. Did you see that email? Woman, I'm reading it. Give me a second. But it makes me a better person as a casting director, or just in life, period. So, but if you don't love what you do, don't do it. Period. If you do not love it, don't do it, because you're only going to be miserable, and the people around you I don't care how much money it is, but you're always going to be miserable. And I don't like being miserable. I like going outside and wash my car because I've worked my ass off on the last 8 projects or whatever, or the last 20 years, just so I can enjoy life. And so my kids could be like, you know what, if you put your best foot forward, you can have whatever. My daughter started a nail company, and she does nails. She's on fleek. I know I'm old school. They don't probably say that shit anymore, but she's on point with it. She's on point with it. And
now I want to see the nails. I'm so sorry. I get distracted.
I know, right?
Look, I'll leave an advertiser. It's nailed by key underscore NAILEDBYKI_.
Nice.
That was
Right,
a
so I'm gonna
shameless
go
plug.
ahead.
So
Oh,
I'm
so
going to be in Atlanta in the beginning of May. You're saying I need to go stop by her nail shop?
How about our nail shop? Yeah, absolutely. She still owes me money for helping her start it, but she swears I didn't give her anything. Little neither here nor there.
So I do have a bit of a question that is kind of inspired by some unpleasant events. I want to know, how are celebrity implosions like the Ezra Miller situation and Jonathan Majors and David Cho affecting your job as a casting director?
What do they do?
They have scandals about them coming out. You know, one told a story about being a rapist, and he claims it was just a story as a joke, but either way, people are very unhappy that he was cast, even though he thinks rape is funny. And Ezra Miller, you know, like kidnaps some people. And
Right. Well, no, I say that in context of being like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby.
yeah,
That's on them. Like that's their problem, not mine. I'm not going to take on somebody else's problem and make it my own when I don't think it has anything to do with me. They're going to have to do it.
I'm not claiming it does. I'm just wondering if it affects how you make your
Does
decision.
it affect the politics of casting?
Yeah.
No.
Like, is it affecting your job any, or?
Well, we're cautious. There was one person we were considering, and we did a deep dive a little bit, and we was like, oh, this person has a pending court case for this. Obviously, we don't want to hire anybody in any negative light. It's bad publicity. Nobody wants bad publicity. Not all publicity is good publicity. So obviously we wouldn't, what's his name? Bill Cosby could want to do a show for free. I don't think we'd ever hire him. Even Will, you take a look at Will Smith for what he did. Let's talk about it. Let's put that out there. He was dead wrong in what he did. But our boy, Chris Rock, held his own.
Yeah.
And he did not let it affect him.
He handled it with poise.
He handled it. He got the shit slapped out of him. I don't know how I would handle it, but I don't think I would have just stood there and somebody slapped me like that. And that doesn't make him a sucker. That doesn't make him a punk.
No.
He's not that person to retaliate and do that.
That's a measure of strength.
When his premiere opened up with that, was it Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Did you watch it?
Not yet. It's at the top of my queue though, because it's like want to.
He took at least 20 minutes at the end and went ape shit on Will Smith, and that's all he needed to do.
Right.
While he's fattening up his pockets. Hey, thank you, because now I'm doing this, even on a grander scale. So it's not always about, one person's decision to do something negative doesn't mean it has to affect you in a negative way. Now, obviously, he has to be a little more cautious.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, don't crack jokes on people like that. But that was an uncalled for moment, But again, with everything that I think in lieu of things that happen in the film industry, like there are people who were, one guy, he was on The Shield, right? He was one of the black cops, right? And he murdered his wife, or he murdered somebody. And he's doing life in prison right now. There's another guy here, I'm really, because I've auditioned this guy several times. He killed his wife, he killed his 2 kids, and then he put a gun on himself.
Okay. That was dark. And it's a lady show. We don't go dark.
Well, let's bring it back to the light then, people.
Sure.
Hence why you can't allow people to take you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, now there's plenty of talent out there where we don't have to deal with certain people. If they're in a bad light. Like, I'll even put it out there, Columbus Short, when he was doing all his craziness, people didn't want to work with him. It's not that it made our job harder, it just made his life harder.
Yeah.
because he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do.
And there are plenty of options where you don't have to be bothered with that.
Exactly. I don't have to.
I do want to bring it back to something you said earlier about someone standing out and catching your attention. What are some things that help an actor to stand out in the room? Even if they're not right for that particular role, what makes them memorable for you?
Personality, just them being genuine and not trying overly impress and try to make it happen. Just come in, do you, you'll be remembered. You know, like there's a good friend, he's become a good friend of mine. His name is Christian Robinson. And when he first came in, what stood out, we're both from Brooklyn. You can't have two cocky people in the same room from Brooklyn. It's just, no. It's not, it's crazy. And so he auditioned, but I didn't let his cockiness get in the way of me bringing him back because I saw something in him. And then he later on went and did Tales. He went and did The Purge. He went and did Burning Sands. He went and did BMF, doing the Apple podcast, whatever it is. So he's grown. And for me, that's a beautiful thing. I just love seeing that. Like I'll turn on the TV, or if I'm watching a show or whatever on my computer, I'm like, that's my boy right there. And I can call him up. I'm like, I'm proud of you. So, you know, hopefully I answered that. What was that question? What show are we talking about?
The question in the chat, it was supposed to go to Tanya only. And yeah, that's staying right on in this show, right there. I'm putting it out. I'm gonna put that out.
She's telling me we need to wrap and let you get back to your day.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I'm about to jump on another call real quick.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and is there any place that you feel that people should be able to follow you online? I assume you do not want to put out the information for people to like email you, because I've heard interesting stories from casting directors about that.
People would just start calling. One person called me 4 o'clock in the morning.
Whoa.
But they just left the club. I thought it was an emergency. I'm human. I just let you know I'm human. I told them very nicely. Don't you ever.
Was it nicely for real?
Huh?
Was it really nicely?
Yeah, it was a little sternness in my voice, but you know, just come on. Don't call nobody on a Sunday. It's Sunday.
No, if it's not an emergency, you don't need to call anybody.
We're chilling. I'm chilling with my family, enjoying life. But I say this to say, like, at the end of the day, you're gonna hear so many no's. It's okay to hear no, but everybody says it. But that one yes, ooh, that's a beautiful thing. When you get that one yes, it's like, okay, it's not like now you're loving it. Like they told me, yeah, now what's next? You might get a couple more no's after that, but that's okay. But don't ever give up. We're not in it to give up. We're in it to keep pushing forward. You know, like, what's your legacy gonna be?
Tanya, I'm gonna go ahead and let you wrap your end up.
Okay, I'll stop talking.
That's all right. I have one final question for you.
Yes.
Are you open to actors outside of the Atlanta area?
Absolutely. We cast for shows that are shooting in New York, they're shooting in LA. So yeah, we're pretty open with it.
Well, that's it for me. Just let listeners know what's the best way to support your work.
Keep doing what you're doing, or follow me at GPierre722. I need more followers. My kid has more followers than me. That's a shame.
Is that on Instagram?
That's IG, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm Tanya Todd. You can find me across social media at Ms. Tanya Todd and my website, MsTanyaTodd.com. Take it over, Winona.
Thank you. And you can find out everything about your ladies at www.andithoughladies.com. Go down to the middle of the page, no longer the bottom of the page, but the middle of the page, and see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that you take a little time out and support them too. Know that this is not just monetary support. They need information, volunteers, these sorts of things. We thank you in advance for that. Remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.